After the tragic loss of his mother, little Miguel, only 7 years old, faces pain and isolation in an orphanage. Alone and a victim of bullying, he finds new hope when he meets Luisa, a woman also burdened by the pain of a loss. With regular visits, Luisa and her husband Ricardo become Miguel's new family, offering him love and security. But Miguel's true journey begins when he needs to balance his newfound happiness with the memory of his mother. Miguel Santos, a boy of just 7 years, was returning from school with his mother Clara on what seemed to be an ordinary day. The sun shone between the clouds, and the birds sang cheerfully. In the car, Miguel excitedly talked about his day, his eyes shining with joy. "Mom, you have to meet Juan. He's so funny and draws amazing dinosaurs," Miguel said, swinging his feet, unable to contain his excitement. Clara, with her warm smile, looked at her son in the rearview mirror. "Sure, my love, we'll invite him to play on Saturday," she responded, happy to see Miguel so content. But in an instant, fate took a drastic turn. The screeching sound of tires skidding on the wet road filled the air, followed by a devastating impact. Clara's car was violently hit, spinning out of control. Everything went into slow motion for Miguel, who felt his world turn upside down. When Miguel regained consciousness, he was in the hospital, surrounded by the sounds of beeping machines and distant voices. His head throbbed, and his body felt heavy. He tried to move, but the pain stopped him. Next to him, a nurse with a gentle, concerned look approached. "You're safe now, Miguel. We're here to take care of you," she said in a calm and comforting voice. "My mom? Where's my mom?" Miguel asked, his voice trembling, his eyes full of worry. The nurse's expression grew serious, and her eyes revealed the sadness she tried to hide. With a lump in her throat, she replied, "Miguel, your mom. She was very brave, but unfortunately, she didn't survive the accident." Miguel's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. He gripped the blanket tightly, trying to find some way to process the immense pain and the feeling of emptiness that now consumed him. His mom, his protector and friend, was gone forever. As tears silently ran down Miguel's face, he remembered Clara's words, always loving and full of wisdom. "Be strong, my love, and never lose hope, even in the hardest times." Miguel Santos was now completely alone in the world. After the tragic accident that took his mother Clara's life, he had no one else to take care of him. With no close family to take him in, Miguel was sent to an orphanage. The orphanage, an old building with worn-out walls and large windows, seemed frightening at first glance. Upon arrival, Miguel firmly held his small backpack, which contained the few things left from his previous life. One of the caregivers, a kind-looking lady named Dona Rosa, welcomed him at the entrance. "Hello, Miguel. My name is Rosa. We'll take good care of you here," she said, trying to console him. Miguel only nodded, unable to find words. His eyes were fixed on the floor, and he felt a deep emptiness in his chest. Dona Rosa took his hand and guided him down the long, silent hallway, where the sounds of laughter and conversations from the other children seemed distant. "This will be your new room," she said, opening the door to a small but clean and orderly space. "You'll share it with other kids your age." Miguel slowly walked in, looking around. The walls were decorated with colorful drawings made by the children at the orphanage. He saw a group of kids playing with building blocks in one corner of the room. "Hi, are you new here?" one of the kids asked with a friendly smile. "My name is Pedro. What's yours?" Miguel responded shyly, feeling a bit better with the warm reception. The following days were difficult for Miguel. He struggled to adapt to the new routine and the new people around him. At night, when the lights went out, he would cling tightly to a photo of his mom, the only tangible memory he had of her. Sitting by the window, looking at the stars, he would whisper softly, "I miss you so much, Mom." Even in the midst of sadness, Miguel found comfort in the words his mom always said, "Be strong, my love, and never lose hope." Over time, Miguel began to make friends at the orphanage. He grew close to Pedro and other children who included him in their games and shared their stories. Although he still felt the pain of his loss, Miguel started to realize he wasn't completely alone. He had found a new family among the children and caregivers at the orphanage. One sunny afternoon, while playing ball in the yard, Pedro said to Miguel, "I know you miss your mom. I lost my parents too, but here we take care of each other. We are a family in a different way." However, adjusting to the orphanage was harder than Miguel could have imagined. Some of the children were not as friendly as Pedro. During recess, Miguel felt the stares of other kids who wouldn't leave him alone. "Look, it's the new kid," one of them mocked, while another laughed. "I bet he cries for his mommy every night." Miguel lowered his head, trying to ignore the taunts, but the words cut deep. At night, he curled up in bed, holding his mom's photo, and cried silently, wishing Clara were there to comfort him. "Why are they so cruel, Mom?" he whispered, his tears soaking the pillow. "I miss you so much." Days passed slowly, and Miguel began to avoid recess, preferring to stay alone in the room, drawing or reading the few books available. He felt safer that way, away from the malicious laughter and shoves. One rainy afternoon, Pedro came into the room and found Miguel alone, drawing. "Miguel, are you okay?" Pedro asked, sitting next to him. Miguel sighed, looking at his friend. "They won't leave me alone, Pedro. I just want my mom back." Pedro put his hand on Miguel's shoulder and said, "I miss my parents too. I know how hard it is, but don't let them get you down. We can be friends and face this together." With these comforting words, Miguel felt a small spark of hope. He knew that although the pain of loss would never go away, he wasn't completely alone. Pedro was a true friend, someone he could trust. From that day on, Miguel decided not to let the bullying defeat him. With Pedro's help, he began to participate more in activities, showing his courage and determination. Gradually, the other children noticed his strength and began to respect him. Miguel knew the road would be long and difficult, but he also knew that the memory of his mother gave him strength. He promised himself that despite all the hardships, he would be strong and keep hope alive, just as Clara had always taught him. On a sunny Sunday, the orphanage organized a visit to the cemetery so the children could pay homage to their loved ones. Miguel carried a small bouquet of flowers, walking silently to his mother's grave. He knelt in front of the headstone, placing the flowers there, and closed his eyes. "Mom, I miss you so much. I wish you were here," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. While he was there, a kind-looking woman approached, carrying a bouquet of white roses. She stopped next to Miguel and, with a sad smile, asked, "Are you visiting someone special too?" Miguel looked up at the woman. "My mom. She died in a car accident," he replied, feeling an immediate connection. The woman nodded, her eyes filling with understanding. "My name is Luisa. I also lost someone very dear, my son. He was just a little older than you." Miguel felt a lump in his throat upon hearing this. "I'm very sorry, Mrs. Luisa," he said with heartfelt sincerity. "Thank you, dear. It's very hard to lose someone we love so much," Luisa said, kneeling beside him. "But you know, I believe that in some way, they are still with us, guiding and protecting us." Miguel nodded, finding unexpected comfort in Luisa's words. "I think my mom is watching over me, even if I can't see her." Luisa smiled gently, touching Miguel's shoulder. "You have a very strong heart, Miguel. Your mom would be proud of you." At that moment, an unexpected friendship began to blossom. Luisa and Miguel started meeting regularly, sharing stories and memories of their loved ones. For Miguel, these encounters brought a new sense of hope and comfort, showing him that even in the midst of pain, it was still possible to find kindness and connection. Luisa and Miguel developed a special bond from the day they met at the cemetery. Sitting by his side, Luisa could see the pain in the boy's eyes and recognized that emptiness, as she too carried a deep loss. From then on, she began to visit him regularly at the orphanage, becoming a maternal figure in Miguel's life. One sunny afternoon, Luisa arrived at the orphanage with a warm smile and a basket full of treats. The children ran around her, eager to see what she had brought. "Hello, kids. Today I brought homemade cookies and a special surprise for you," Luisa announced, her voice full of joy. Miguel, who was sitting alone drawing, looked up, and his face lit up when he saw Luisa. He ran to her, and she welcomed him with a loving hug. "Hello, Luisa. I'm so happy you came," Miguel said, feeling instantly happier. "Hello, my dear. I'm happy to see you too," Luisa responded, stroking Miguel's hair. "Look what I brought today," she said, pulling an illustrated book out of the basket. "This was my son's favorite book. I'd like to read it to you." Miguel's eyes shone with excitement. "I'd love to hear it. What's the story?" Luisa sat on a wooden bench, and Miguel snuggled up beside her, resting his head on her shoulder. As she began to read, the other children gathered around, forming a circle, fascinated by Luisa's captivating storytelling. Luisa's gentle voice brought the words to life, transporting everyone to a world of adventures and magic. Miguel was completely absorbed in the story, momentarily forgetting the pain of his loss. Luisa's warmth and presence provided comfort and security, as if she were a bridge between his painful past and a hopeful future. After the reading, Luisa and Miguel walked together through the orphanage garden, talking about everything and nothing. "Did you know that my mom also loved reading to me? She always did funny voices for the characters," Miguel shared with a nostalgic smile. Luisa smiled gently, squeezing Miguel's hand. "I think you inherited that from her, Miguel. You have an incredible imagination." Miguel looked at Luisa with bright eyes. "Do you think I could be a writer someday, like in the books you read to me?" "I'm sure of it, Miguel. With your creativity and heart, you can be anything you want. And I'll always be here to support you," Luisa affirmed sincerely. As the months passed, Luisa became a constant presence in Miguel's life. She not only visited him but also participated in the orphanage's activities, helping with tasks, organizing games, and sharing moments of joy. Each visit from Luisa was a reminder to Miguel that he was not alone, that there was kindness in the world, and that he could find a new family even in the most difficult circumstances. One day, while they were drawing together, Miguel looked at Luisa and asked shyly, "Luisa, do you think one day I could call you Mom?" Luisa felt her eyes fill with tears, and with a loving smile, she replied, "Miguel, I would love that. You already feel like a son to me." Over time, the connection between Luisa and Miguel grew deeper and more genuine. Luisa's regular visits to the orphanage became the light that brightened Miguel's days. Each time she came, she brought not only books and treats but also the warmth of true and unwavering affection. One beautiful day, Luisa arrived at the orphanage accompanied by her husband Ricardo, a man with a welcoming smile and gentle eyes. When Miguel saw them together, he ran to meet them. "Hi, Luisa. Who is he?" Miguel asked, curious but smiling. "Hello, my dear. This is Ricardo, my husband. He's heard so much about you that he wanted to meet you in person," Luisa replied with a sparkle in her eyes. Ricardo knelt down to Miguel's height and extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Miguel. Luisa talks a lot about you," I'm happy to finally meet you. Miguel shook Ricardo's hand, feeling a wave of warmth and safety. Hi, Ricardo. Do you like books too? Ricardo laughed softly. Yes, especially when Luisa reads to me. She has a special way of bringing stories to life, doesn't she? From that day on, Ricardo accompanied Luisa on her visits, bringing even more joy and laughter to Miguel. Together, they played, read stories, and shared precious moments that gradually formed a familial bond. One autumn afternoon, while sitting in the garden, Luisa and Ricardo called Miguel over for a talk. Miguel's heart pounded with anticipation, eager to hear what they had to say. Miguel, Luisa began, holding Miguel's hands in hers. Ricardo and I have been thinking a lot about you and what you mean to us. Ricardo continued, looking into Miguel's eyes. We would love for you to become part of our family officially. We'd like to adopt you, Miguel. What do you think? Miguel's eyes filled with tears of happiness. He looked at Luisa and then at Ricardo, almost unable to believe what he was hearing. Do you really want me to be part of your family? Yes, Miguel. We want you to come live with us and be our son, Luisa said, her voice full of emotion. Miguel couldn't hold back his tears. He hugged Luisa and Ricardo with all his strength, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. I really want to be part of your family, he replied, his voice choked with emotion. The following months were pure joy. Miguel moved into Luisa and Ricardo's house, where he was welcomed with love and affection. Miguel's room was decorated with his favorite drawings and a bookshelf full of new books. Every day was a new adventure, filled with laughter, learning, and unconditional love. One night, while Luisa was reading him a story, Miguel looked at her and said, Mom, I've never been so happy. Thank you for giving me a family. Luisa smiled, her eyes shining with love. We are the ones who are grateful, Miguel. You brought light and joy into our lives. Ricardo, who was standing at the door, walked in and joined the hug. Now we are a family, and nothing can change that, he said with a smile. Despite the happiness in his new life, Miguel still felt the pain of losing his biological mother. In moments of silence, he held Clara's photo, remembering the happy times they had together. Luisa and Ricardo understood the importance of those memories and always encouraged Miguel to talk about his mother. You know, Miguel, Luisa said one day while helping Miguel put Clara's photo in a special frame, your mom will always be a part of who you are, and we are here to help you keep that memory alive. Ricardo nodded, adding, we will honor her memory together. You can tell stories about her whenever you want. With that unconditional support, Miguel began to find a way to balance his new life with the memory of his mother. He created a small altar in his room where he kept photos, letters, and items that reminded him of Clara. On the hardest nights, he would sit there and talk to his mother, feeling her spirit present. One day, during a walk in the park, Miguel said to Luisa and Ricardo, my mom always told me to be strong and never lose hope. I feel like she's happy because I found you. Luisa, her eyes filled with tears, hugged Miguel tightly. And we are very happy to have found you, Miguel. You are a gift to us. And so, with the love and support of his new family, Miguel learned to overcome the pain of his loss. He found happiness again, keeping his mother's memory alive in his heart. Luisa and Ricardo provided Miguel not only with a home but also with a safe space where he could be himself, heal his wounds, and grow surrounded by love. Together, they built a life full of joy, hope, and the certainty that even in the hardest times, love can heal all wounds.